Hulk Hogan became the face of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. In 2005, the world got a chance to meet his wife Linda and their teenage children Brooke and Nick on the VH1 reality show Hogan Knows Best. But the end of that show in 2007 would also mark the end of the Hogan's marriage with a very public and bitter divorce. Now Linda is telling all in her new book, Wrestling the Hulk, My Life Against the Ropes. Linda, good morning. Good to see you.
How are you? Nice
I'm doing
to
fine. Thank you very much. During the time of the divorce, you said, I knew I had access to the press back then. I could have told my side of the story. I chose not to. But I also knew that the time would come to talk. Why is now the right time?
Now's the time because, a lot of it is behind me. At the time, there was just enough going on that I just felt, any more would just put fuel on the fire. I didn't want to embarrass my kids.
But there'll be fuel on the fire now based on a lot of the things you write in this book.
Probably so. But, one of the reasons, I think, is that there are a lot of women out there in the world that are going through the same thing that I went through. If they can learn something by what I wrote, I hope I can help other people.
I want people to understand. First of all, we reached out to your former husband and asked him for comment on this. His only comment was no comment. So I want people to keep that in mind. You do write in the book about good times. You say you traveled a lot. You saw the world with this man, and there were some great times. What was the turning point, though? When did things go bad?
The turning point for me ultimately was when I found out that he had an affair back, 10 years into the marriage. It shocked me. That was the pivotal point for me. It was hard trying to rebuild after that, but I did.
You write about Hulk Hogan and drug abuse. In general, you actually discuss drug abuse and professional wrestling. You say from life on the road to the physical brutality of the business to the schedule and traveling, not to mention being bored and lonely on the road, it seemed like wrestlers had a reason to do every kind of drug and narcotic that was around. It also helped numb them from the pain of being injured. How much drug use did you personally witness when it came to your husband?
The drugs are always around, prescribed. They've always got injuries, There's a constant flow of pain pills and anti-inflammatories and steroids. A lot of them did take steroids. Combined, it makes somebody, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Did you get to a point where you knew it was a problem, and did you try and get him help?
That's not something that was my position to do. As long as he was in the ring and they were prescribed, I didn't care if he took them. But he did change. It changed him.
You talk about arguments between the two of you, and you wrote, quote, "He tore my shirt, he threw lamps, he held me down on the bed with his hands around my throat during arguments, slamming doors, pounding walls. I was always afraid he would kill me in one of his rages." When the fight was over, did his rage decrease significantly? Did he feel remorse? Did he apologize?
He did not feel remorse, and to this day he's never apologized for any of his actions. But that is something that scared me. I did not want to be a statistic like Nicole Simpson. I knew that.
Did you contact the authorities?
That's one of the things that I talk about in my book. Is I was quiet. I was afraid to say anything. Had I said something, the carpet would have been pulled up underneath his career. I don't know what my kids would have done. They were little at the time. It's scary. It's a very scary position. You don't know how far they're going to go. One fight can escalate and turn into something that you don't want.
And again, I just want to mention we reached out to Hulk Hogan. He had no comment on this. Back when you did the reality show in 2005, that's a kiss of death for a lot of couples, and yet you write about it in pretty positive terms. Don't you think it contributed? I mean, your marriage ended just as the show was ending. Didn't it contribute in some ways?
In my opinion, it did not. It did not contribute. In fact, when we were having marital problems, I noticed that our marriage was not so good. We were having some rough times. But when we get makeup on and go downstairs and start filming, the kids would be in there, and it was kind of like everybody put on a happy face. And just going through one of the scenes that we were filming kind of brought us out of it, and it brought us together. And, so we laugh and do the scene and stuff, but, you fake it till you make it. But, clearly there were definite problems.
One of the side effects of the show was back in 2007, your son Nick, I think he was 17 at the time, was involved in a car accident. He was intoxicated. His passenger was severely injured. I think still requires 24-hour care. The judge sentenced your son to 9 months in jail. He received 5 months. He actually served 5. And you think the judge treated him unfairly in part because of the wild child image that was created during that reality show. Some would say 5 months in jail is not a lot for what he did.
Well, you know what, there's a lot of, everybody's going to have their opinions. You know, Nick is a really good boy. He was not trying to hurt his friend John. You know, John was like a son to us. It was a horrific accident. You know, that's something that we live with every day. I don't really know what the proper, you know, punishment would be, but I do know that Nick has learned a serious lesson. We all have, and it's a difficult thing. It's the phone call that no parent ever wants to get.
Well, you're right about a lot of things in this book, and I think a lot of things will turn heads. There's no question about it. Linda, it's good to have you here.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it. Again, the book is called Wrestling the Hulk.